Okay, this is the third video of a series I'm doing on forensic astrology mapping. It's a tutorial. Um, some things I do in the video are conventional as far as astrology goes, and some are not. In the previous videos, I mean. So you can refer to the previous two videos, and I explain all of that. So if I do something that's unconventional, that's not part of traditional astrology or whatever, I'll say so, okay? So that people know exactly what it is I am and am not doing. Okay, so how do we put this together? How do we use this to search for someone? Okay, like I said, we go to the tiny pie slices. I'll start from the left and go to the right. I'm going to start here. And the reason I want to start here is because this is the Pluto line and the DNA line. Pluto deals with, basically, Pluto is exhumation. Okay, now I'm not saying that this person is deceased. When I say exhumation, I mean discovery. It doesn't necessarily mean a person is deceased. So, and DNA is an asteroid that is just that. It's about a person's DNA. So it could be somewhere, the person might not be there, but maybe for some reason their DNA is in somebody's house or somebody's car or some kind of item that they left behind, something to that effect. So when I say that I'm looking at Pluto and DNA, I'm not saying that a person is deceased. Okay? But I think it's an interesting place to look. It's a small pie slice. So I think it's worth looking at. So I'm going to zoom in. All right. And this is the 4 mile. This is the 4 mile radius. Okay. So if she is within a 4 mile radius, we would look at the areas between these pie slices right here. And I'm going to look towards the perimeter, which would be here. This is the perimeter of the 4 mile. And look for places, addresses, things like bodies of water, because you have to consider all the possibilities when you're dealing with a missing person. You don't know if they are alive or deceased because you haven't heard from them. So you just don't know. So let's just say, now this is not the case, but let's just say I zoom in on a neighborhood and there is an address that is associated with a registered offender. Well, that might be a good place to look, for police to look. An individual can't go there, but, a policeman could look. And let's say it's like right on one of the lines. Okay, let's just say this looks like some farmland or something. I don't know. But let's just say there's a house here and it's on this line or pretty close to this line. And you look up that address and it is associated with somebody that's done something very terrible. You could call that to the attention of police. Typically, when somebody goes missing, they do go around and they do question registered offenders. Okay? Now, let's say she is between 4 miles and 40 miles in this pie slice. Okay? So we would move this down and we would zoom in. Okay? And, right here we have the Wabash River. Well, I've heard psychics and everything, and I'm not going to put psychics down because some of them are very accurate. But I've heard them say things like, they're in the Red River or they're in the Tennessee River or whatever. Well, there is a Wabash River here, and it looks like 65 goes across it, which is a travel route. Um, you know, if, it would be impossible to search the entire Wabash River, right? But you could search the area between, say, Battleground and Shadeland, that section of the Wabash River. So it helps to narrow things down. Okay? So that is the reason why we do astrological mapping. Now, sometimes in missing person cases, they will find an item. They will find maybe an abandoned car or something that belonged to the victim. Or they will maybe find some clothing items or a cell phone or something. And that might be like over here on this line, but they find the actual person maybe over here on this line or this line, that sort of thing. So what this takes is people who want to search, okay, who have the time and the resources to search, who have the time and the resources to zoom in on these maps and look for places where they think a missing person might be. They could be, in the woods beside the river, living in a makeshift, um, encampment or something like that. Not that likely in the winter. In the winter, if you were purposely trying to hide out, you would probably find yourself a cave, because a cave, the temperature is pretty consistent all year. They are livable, not ideal, but livable. So yeah, that's how we use this map. And so let's say you have a missing person in your family and you know somebody that's willing to go out and look for them. Okay. You would give them the link to this map and explain that, the tiny pie slice areas, and places that look like a person might hide or someone might hide them at. Um, you know, like I said, this helps to narrow it down to an area rather than, just blind searching. And people have been found using this technique, like I said. There are people that are better at mapping than I am. There's Juniper Tarot and Astrology. I'll put a link below to her. There's Kirsty McIntosh, who actually wrote the book on how to do this technique. She's from Australia. I'll put her link below. They have YouTube channels that you can learn from as well. You can watch their mapping, to see, learn more about how mapping works. So let's just say she actually did go to Kentucky. She might not have gone to Kentucky. She might have just not wanted anybody to know where she was. She might have said she was going to Kentucky just to throw people off her trail. Because sometimes people they just want to get away from it all. They want to disappear. I don't believe that's the case with this lady because she seems to have a loving family. But let's say she did go down into Kentucky. All right, that would be within the 40-mile radius. Looks like we have the I-75 corridor going right through this line right here, which, let's see, what line was that? What line was that? What line is it anyway? Let's see here. I'm trying to find out. I can't remember. Okay. This is the Theraeus line, and Theraeus is a bad guy in astrology, and the South Node. So the Theraeus and South Node Pisces, which might not really be recognized by most astrologers because Theraeus is not really a planet. The South Node might be, but not Theraeus. I'm really not sure, but it goes through London, Williamsburg, Corbin, and all of that. It actually even goes down into Knoxville. Okay? And it is a tiny pie slice, but it doesn't involve the major planets. So be aware of that. But if, let's say you wanted to search that area, you would zoom in and you would look for places where maybe would be a good place for a person to hide or a good place to hide somebody. Okay? We see that those lines go over the Ohio River. Okay? We see that it's between a certain area. Let's see. Say between 222 and there's really not any landmarks, but say Willow Grove and Wellsburg. Okay? That section right there. That narrows it down. I'm not saying that she's there. I'm talking about just people in general, right? So anyway, I hope that helps, and I'm going to put some links below to other astrologers, especially Kirsty, who wrote the book on how to do this. My own opinion, there are so many tiny pie slices up in here that I'm inclined to think that maybe whoever she was talking to said they were going to go south into Kentucky, and somehow along the way, the plan changed. This is just my opinion. This is just my intuition, because all the really tiny pie slices are north, and this one is northwest. And so they may have decided not to go to Kentucky. They may have decided to go elsewhere. So, yeah, and it can be anywhere from a 4-mile radius to a 40-mile radius to a 400-mile radius. My personal opinion, 40-mile radius. I think if she was in a 4-mile radius, she probably would have been found by now. So I'm thinking between 4 miles and 40 miles. That is my own personal opinion. Okay? Take it for what it's worth. You don't have to believe it at all, actually. But like I said, this whole map, it could be false. Because if she did not leave the Goshen residence at 12 p.m. on the 30th of March of 25, this whole map is false. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, some people that want to search will come forward. I'm going to put the link to this map in every single description box on all the videos so that anybody wants to search, they can use this map to search. So, there you go. Okay, we can't talk about forensic astrology and using astrology to solve crimes without talking about Kirsty McIntosh. That would be blasphemy. So we're going to go to astrology.com, how one woman uses astrology to solve crimes. Let's go to this article and give it a look. Okay. I won't read the whole article, but I'll give you a gist and then I'll put the link below. In early March 2017, Kirsty McIntosh was contacted by a woman whose niece had been missing for more than 6 months. The family was at their wits' end looking for clues they might find them. Okay, so a family member went to Kirsty, and then Kirsty talks about how she used astrology to solve this crime, so to speak. Let's get some of this junk off of here for one thing. Okay. Now, this is the Jessica Runyon's case. Okay. I'm looking for it. I'm sorry. Okay. She talks about looking to the ruling planet by house and sign. She talks about calculating the degrees. Okay. And one of the, looks like one of the degrees that one of the lines went to, I think it was 24 degrees Virgo. That's where Jessica's 2012 black Chevy Equinox was found. burned, abandoned just a few days after her disappearance. She goes on to talk about how she used astrology to solve this case. Like I said, I won't read the whole article. I just wanted to give you a gist. Okay. So anyway, I'll put the link below. And by the way, if you're interested in learning astrology, anybody can learn astrology. It's not a psychic gift. It doesn't have anything to do with the spirit world or anything like that. It's a lot of, I guess you could say, book learning. It's a lot of memorization. I mean, the better you are at memorizing things, the quicker you'll pick it up. But it's not terrible if you're not really quick to memorize things. I would suggest starting with Astrology for Dummies and start branching out from there. And after, so sorry, I'm recovering from pneumonia. Anyway, just start branching out. Start with a really simple book and, take it from there. After you get some really basic principles down, you can start going into forensic astrology. And you can, invest in Kirsty's books about forensic astrology. There's another book called Rulerships in Astrology. And so that's also a good book. So yeah, if it's something that interests you, dive in head first. Thank you so much. Have a good day.